A very warm welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Level Up Webinar Wednesday. I am Audra Mitchell, and I have the privilege of being your host and moderator for today's panel discussion entitled Celebrating Phenomenal Women, Breaking the Stereotypes, Inspiring Inclusion, and Accelerating Progress. So in an article dated June the 12th, 2003, cited on the United Nations website, it stated that a report had been recently completed, and this report revealed that there was no improvement in the level of prejudice shown against women over the past decade, with almost 9 out of 10 men and women worldwide still holding such biases. I quote, half of people worldwide still believe men make better political leaders than women, and more than 40% believe men make better business executives than women. And this is according to the UN Development Programme in its latest Gender Social Norms Index report. Now, as women, we know we make amazing executives, and our discussion today will speak about that. And we have examples here that I'm going to introduce a little bit later of some phenomenal women executives who are making bold strides in business. Now, additionally, the article stated biases are also reflected in the severe underrepresentation of women in leadership. On average, the share of women as heads of state or heads of government has remained around 10% since 1995. And I repeat, since 1995. And in the labor market, women occupy less than a third of managerial positions. Therefore, when we examine the statistics, while there has been a recognition of the need for women to be better represented, for there to be more inclusion and less bias, it is clear that there is still a lot of work to be done. So therefore, today we are pleased to explore this and much more with our Massey women, Massey leaders, who continue to grow and excel in their own fields and are doing their part in making a difference. Today is also our third and our final webinar in commemoration of International Women's Day, I would say Women's Month, Women's Year, because I think every day it's a good day for women. And if you missed our other 2 webinars, please visit the MLI website and our YouTube channel, where you will see not only our webinars around women commemorating International Women's Day, but all our other webinars. So as we step further into our session, and before I introduce and welcome our panelists, let me take a moment to do some quick housekeeping with regards to the flow of our session today. Each of our panelists will do a brief presentation as they explore their insights, their reflections, and their own stories as it relates to this topic. Once all our presentations have been completed, we will then have our Q&A segment. And this is the part where you come in. So in order to make this engaging, we encourage you to post your questions, and in posting your questions, kindly indicate to which of the panelists your question is directed, as this will assist us greatly in moderating our Q&A session. And also, please feel free to drop in your comments, your thoughts, your own stories, anything you want to share with us, as we would like to hear from you. So now, I'm hearing drums rolling. Without further ado, let me welcome our panelists. And as you see, we have great representation from our countries and our territories in Massey. So I'm going to introduce them by name and title, and then I'll share some more about them a little later on. So our panelists include Ms. Sonia Rodriguez Ardila, Vice President, Massey Motors, Colombia. Hi, Sonia. Ms. Dion Walcott, AVP Human... Good morning. Ms. Dion Walcott, AVP Human Resources, IRP, Barbados. Morning, Dion.
Yeah, Barbados. Morning.
Ms. Troy Valson, General Manager, Massey Stores, St. Vincent. Good morning, Troy.
Good morning.
and Miss Karen Cornell, Senior Manager, Pharmaceutical and Personal Care Division, Massey Distribution Guyana, Inc.
Hi, so happy to be here. Hello.
Thank you, ladies. And I know we are all excited about the discussions that will take place and in hearing your presentations. So, to kick us off, our first presenter will be Ms. Sonia Rodriguez Adila, Vice President, Massey Motors Colombia. So please permit me to share some more about Sonia, and I will do the same with each of our presenters before they do their presentations. So Sonia is a business administrator of the Salle University with a master's in marketing from the EFIT University and a second postgraduate in management at the Andes University. She's been married, for the past 23 years and is the proud mother of two beautiful daughters, 17 and 14 years old. And Sonia has more than 22 years of experience in the automotive sector. 12 years working directly with with the Renault brand, where she worked in a number of positions, various positions, and I know she can share some more about that a little later on. Some of her most outstanding achievements during her time in the job include the expansion area of the North Zone in Bogota City and the growth of the company through opening new dealers with new vehicle showrooms and after-sales operations that exist up to today. So there was a dealership in Suba in November 2015, the Collision Center of Kota in 2016. More recently, in February 2021, in February 2022, the opening of Massey Motors Bogota with the Kia branch in March 2022. And just a little bit about Sonia overall. Her goal as Vice President is to continue searching for the growth and expansion of Massey in Colombia, focusing on commercial performance, quality, and profitability. Sonia believes there is great talent in Colombia, in each and every one of the companies, and sees her big purpose is that Massey in Colombia grows as well as the people in the company and their families to reach their dreams. Sonia, we warmly welcome you this morning and thank you for agreeing to join us. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity to share next to the phenomenal women of Massey.
Thank you. Next slide.
Okay, so thank you for the introductions. For me, the International Women's Day is a commemorator to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievement of women worldwide. It's a reminder of the struggle of gender equality and the importance of women's rights and empowerment, while also recognize the contribution and sacrifice of women throughout history. As a woman in a male-dominant industry, this day represents a journey of resilience, breaking barriers, and being an example for the next generation. Including my two daughters, as a mother of two wonderful girls, it's in my hands to show them that women are capable of anything they want to achieve. Talking about the automotive industry, the traits of women leaders, we have three traits. The first one is resilience. Women leaders overcome obstacles and adversity. Innovation. Women leaders have brought fresh perspectives and ideas in the sector, in the team, in the area, and collaborations. The importance of collaborations and teamwork is achieved. My experience throughout many years working at this industry has me taught determination, strength, and challenge myself every day. Today, with the opportunity to refer to you all, I want to leave a message for all the women. Do not limit ourselves because we are capable of extraordinary things. Don't be afraid to share our ideas. They could have more impact than we could imagine. This is a tough world, but we start changing it with ourselves. I want my daughters to grow up in a world where their gender doesn't not limit their aspirations or opportunities, where they see firsthand that success is nothing to do with gender boundaries.
Thanks.
Celebrating diversity in Massimoto's Colombia, in our organization, has a philosophy where positions are not defined by gender, but rather by talent, character, attitude, and willingness to take on challenge. We actively seek individuals who embody these qualities, regardless of gender, to join our team. Uh, Between our leadership in Colombia, we probably have two assistant vice presidents who are women, manage one of the cities, and the financial woman that is spectacular, along with numerous women leading various departments in our commercial operations, after sales, spare parts, and even we have a women leading the collision work process in Medellin. By fostering a culture that values diversity and inclusion, we not only attract top talent, but also create an environment where everyone can contribute their unique perspectives and skills to their organization forward. Thank you for your invaluable leadership and for shaping our collective success. Estoy muy orgullosa de las mujeres que trabajan en Colombia en mi equipo. We have in Colombia 315 women working in Masi Colombia. Y gracias a las mujeres de Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. And again, the reminder from Sonia, the message, don't limit ourselves. So we just heard from Sonia and her message to us and even, the great things that are happening in Colombia, women in leadership, and on the work that they're doing to support and foster progress and inclusion with women. So thank you, Sonia. And we'll hear a little bit more from Sonia a little later on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our second presenter is Ms. Dion Walcott, AVP Human Resources, IRP Barbados. So again, I'd like to share a little bit about Dion. So Dion is a seasoned HR practitioner within the Massey Integrated Retail Portfolio in Barbados, and she expertly balances companies' goals with employee needs. And I can share that when I first joined the group in retail, Dion was one of the leaders that I met, and she shared a lot of her insights and her expertise with me, to get me to grow and to understand what retail was about, So she brings a wealth of experience in the retail industry. So leading an HR team responsible for HR execution at Massey Distribution and Massey Stores, Dion has earned a reputation as a go-to guru. Dion's impressive track record includes a focus on learning and development, whether it involves grooming young talent or fine-tuning customer service. Her leadership skills continue to contribute to creating and maintaining a positive workplace culture. Over the years, Dion has played a pivotal role in facilitating the opening of new locations and major mergers. No small feat. And again, additionally, Dion has spearheaded initiatives to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organization, truly covering all bases. Beyond her professional activities, Dion is a bookworm and a committed family person, inclusive of her 3 beautiful German shepherds. Her dedication and expertise makes her a valuable asset in the business world. So ladies and gents, again, it is my pleasure to welcome our second presenter, Miss Dion Walcott.
Hi, morning everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome to everybody. And I am going to acknowledge the symbolism now of following on from another female leader, Sonia Rodriguez. Thank you. I'm all over the place. I thought when I was first given this opportunity, I went to a place that said, I don't know about that phenomenal woman thing. and, and I settled where I thought I could be creative in the moment and speak about my 27-year-old person coming into this next slide, coming into this business and my experience and my thoughts then on what I could do and what my contribution could be versus where I am 58 at 58 years old as a leader in the organization. I realize that my slides aren't moving. Oh, good. Thank you. At 26 years, I had completed university and was about to return to Barbados. My life back then as a young university student was pretty much one job, taking as much as you can. And I did my studies in Canada in a very cold place called Winnipeg, and I was exposed to people from all walks of life, all types of religions, different cultures, and so on. So when and most importantly, I became a headstrong feminist. That is an important aspect of who I was then and when I returned to Barbados into the work world. I came back with a strong understanding of what my contribution could be. I understood clearly that I was a woman who had value and a woman who could make changes. I was humbled very quickly when I applied for jobs, thinking to myself, well, I have a degree and here I am. And applying for jobs and not getting what I really needed. My first job was with then BS&T. So I've spent 31 years working with this company as BS&T and now as Massey. I knew clearly what inclusion was. I knew that we needed to consistently provide an environment where everybody felt valued, respected, and so on. I knew it was about embracing what people brought to the table. As I said, I was humbled quickly when I was offered the position of a cashier with my wonderful degree. And not to discount cashiers in any form or fashion, but simply to say I felt I had a lot more to offer. And I remember one of the first promotions done in that business at the time, and it was given to a male colleague to supervise our location, and feeling very disappointed and not understanding why. What could he be bringing that I didn't have? So my intent this morning is really to look and say, look, that was my 27-year-old self. I've been on a journey, and that journey has taken me where I am today. I still hold firm the benefits of inclusion. I understand the what it means when we include people. I understand that we start from early years, from childhood, where inclusion helps to create empathy and understanding, where that can then go into the workplace, and and through that we are able to be creative and innovative. I think that is the answer to all of the issues that we have in business. And I also am well aware of the community that inclusion brings to the benefits of communities thriving through that inclusion and of diversity and so on. I I am I am 58 years old now. I've gone through some trying times where I felt like if I didn't have worth, and I share this, and I'm being very personal, I share this because I've also had the opportunity to have many conversations with young women and young men, but mainly young women who feel the same way in their workspace. And I share at this level because I think I can relate, and I think I have a story that comes out much better on the other end. So the letter that my 58-year-old self will write now is one of a quote that I follow often, and it is, forget not who you are in the moment of your encirclement by that which you are not. For years, the focus has been on the bottom line. The focus has been on being strong. The focus has been on being, and I'm going to use harsh words, maybe abrasive, in order to make your way on this journey. And more as we are developing and understanding business, a lot of what we offer as women has now become necessities. And so that quote about forget not who you are says to me and validates that what we as women bring to the table means something and is very impactful. My 58-year-old self has very often, in Barbados, we have this thing called Kadir. I don't know if it exists across the Caribbean, but it is, somebody would come and tell you a story and you'd be like, oh, Kadir, oh, Kadir. And it really means that in that moment you are feeling what other people are going through. And I have the title called often the Kadir manager. And it isn't said in a nice way. It's said in a way that says, oh, don't include Dion, or don't ask Dion, because her feelings will come to the top and she will take a Kadir position. At 58, I sit firmly in the space that says that is who I am. I am not a pushover. I have had enough experience to know better, but I embrace, particularly in my role, the position of being the care bearer. That's what I do. I get up every morning, I come into work, and I care for people of every religion, sexual orientation, function. I care for people. That is my role, and I stand firm in it. I think at 58 years, I am now a sage. I am a sage because I've experienced a lot, but in experiencing a lot, I don't want anybody to feel that this is something I did on my own. I did it. I used to put up a plaque in my office that said, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I have stood on the shoulders of giants throughout my 31 years in this organization, and most times, I'll say 98% of the times, I was standing on the shoulders of women who helped my department and helped me to get where I am today. So I embrace that. Um, we still live in a place that we have stereotypes. We every day is not good, but I recognize and support an organization that is acknowledging the role of women and that we are doing things that make a difference. When I first started, I was the only woman in the meetings. Today, we have, especially our extended senior level leaders level, where that is inclusive of managers and supervisors. We have 60% women and 40% men. That is a long way from where I started. One of the things I am most proud of, and it happened in my 30th year of working here, is having a recognition from the disabilities unit here in Barbados, because we are an organization known for including people with different abilities. I am proud of that. It is my proudest moment, and I stand firm in it because I am the care bear. So, call to action. It makes no sense us sitting here talking. We need to, as a group, we need to educate and
That's good.
spread awareness, and we need to actively challenge and break down any of the harmful stereotypes that still exist in our business.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you, Dion, not only for sharing your personal reflections, I mean, your experiences, and really, which I would dare say that many of us can relate to, and that point about our role as nurturers and caregivers, that's not a weakness, but it is a strength that is needed, especially at this time, right? Also, we can even hear some of the international gurus that speak about tapping into that feminine side, right? Because they're recognizing in business, in big business, it is a strength, right? That nurturing, caregiving, supporting side is a key skill and a key strength that all leaders will need in the future. So really, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, for sure, Audra.
And
Yes.
I also want to add, both from when you and Sonia shared, what's really, what I'm really present to is the changing statistics.
Yeah.
The scales are tipping, so within the
Yeah.
group, it is clear
Yeah.
that, that we're doing our part, and we're seeing the changes, and you made reference to that as well. So thank you for that. Very heartening to hear. So our next presenter is Ms. Troy Valsin, General Manager, Massey Stores, St. Vincent. And again, let me share a little bit with you about Troy. So Troy serves as the General Manager of Massey Stores, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with an impressive 27-year career spanning IT, warehousing, purchasing, distribution, and retail. Troy possesses a master's degree in computer science from the University of Kent, an executive diploma in leadership with St. Mary's University, along with numerous certificates in business-related disciplines. Troy's passion for continuous improvement and innovation propels her into challenging roles where her track record of success speaks volumes. Troy prides herself on her commitment to driving corporate growth and streamlining operational efficiencies. Beyond her corporate role, She supports community development in St. Lucia through its cultural La Rose group, charitable St. Lucia Home for the Homeless, and religious groups, underscoring her dedication to societal betterment. A lifelong learner at heart, Troy continuously seeks to be a catalyst for positive change, enhancing her leadership capabilities and broadening her knowledge spectrum, affirming her philosophy that growth is an endless journey. Troy, good morning and welcome, and thank you as well for joining us.
Want to thank you, Audra, for the introduction. I would like to thank each and every person who's taken time out from their day to listen in, especially the women, and thankful for all the men who has joined in to help support us along our way in our journey. For me, International Women's Day is one that always starts off with reflection, with introspection, but most importantly, with gratitude. Yes, gratitude. We are here because we have persons who have paved their way for us. Those that we know in our everyday lives or in our recent past, but those who are long gone, and some of those who were never acknowledged for their work in terms of getting us to where we are today, for the sacrifices made on a personal level, as well as family and friends, and sometimes even having to leave their homeland countries and venture out like me. I am St. Lucian by birth. My home is St. Lucia, but I am now serving in St. Vincent. For those who have cheered us on, and that's an important aspect that we tend to lose out on. We focus on the negative aspects of things, but there were a lot of people cheering us along, right? And guiding us and giving us, information or how we can improve ourselves. We need to always be thankful for that. And in yesterday's session, where the panelists were having a little informal discussion, one of my panelists says that, you know what? We need to acknowledge what we have achieved and stand in it. And that was a very powerful statement yesterday, which will resonate with me going forward. Let's stand in what we have achieved as women. We need to be proud of it and be thankful for it. We don't need to be arrogant about it, but we can have a sense of pride. For strength and wisdom to continue positively impacting lives. As leaders, that is what we do. We're not the ones counting the monies. We're the ones taking care of the teams, ensuring that when they come to work, they're safe and they're happy and they're ready to perform at their best. And we also need to acknowledge each other as women, acknowledge each other, encourage each other, because my time will be cut short at some point in time, but there are others who we should be grooming and growing so that they too can continue paving that way to change our percentages in terms of where we are as senior executives in the company. I was fortunate that I've had both experiences being in male dominant leadership teams and also being in female dominant. And for me, through the companies that I served, I started off at JQ Charles company in St. Lucia, which then merged to form Consolidated Foods Limited, which was then purchased by Massey Group in terms of majority shares. And I have been able to see the dynamic change from almost no, JQ Charles was a family owned business. So there were females at the head, but they were part of the family itself. When it came to the executives, there were very few senior executives in those senior positions. And we have grown to a new company where the majority is females or women at the head. For St. Lucia, Massey Store St. Lucia, and as well as Masistos SVG. So proud moment. As a young lady starting off my journey, I went to the UK to study, and I was studying in London. And I applied to do my master's right after. And it was at that point that I recognized for the first time what gender bias was. And I found out by hearing the words, "You're in the wrong room." Yes, that was me then. I was 21 years old and I was in shock. Why was I in shock? First, let me give you a little more background, a little more context to this. I had other classmates who had been accepted to that university. It was a prestigious university. It was a male dominant field, which I later found out. I did not realize when I applied for it. This was just a 21-year-old wanting to go after her dreams, and she wanted to leave the UK with a master's degree. And so persons who had done worse, not very good, or were getting acceptances, and this university wasn't accepting me. The dean then called me into a meeting and said, well, because of your age, they would like to come up from Canterbury to interview you because you would be the youngest member with a master's degree in computer science. So still didn't see anything for it. I was like, okay, sure, no problem. When the day arrived, I walked into the interview room and there were two gentlemen there. One casually lifted his head and immediately said, "You're in the wrong room." I was startled because you didn't ask my name, you didn't inquire, you automatically assumed that I was in the wrong room. That is when I started to open my eyes and realize what happened, right? It was a male dominant profession at that time. And thankfully, my name is a boy's name. Troy is not a unisex name, it's a boy's name. And so they came up to interview a young male, 21 year. I could have taken the approach and left, but instead I stepped into the room and proceeded with my interview, whether they were ready or not. I have no idea what gave me that courage to do that because I come from a very small island, living a very sheltered life, and now making a very bold step. That was history. I was successful. I attended the University of Kent and I got my master's, and I did my best to ensure that there was no opportunity for me not to succeed. But for us, breaking these stereotypes, inspiring inclusion, and accelerating progress requires a special kind of power. It requires the power of a growth mindset. Back then, I used the word positive mindset until they've now crafted it as a growth mindset. That willingness to look at any challenge or issue that you have and look past it and look at the creativity and how you can overcome it and what's the route you need to do. I find as women, because we have to juggle so many different important tasks in our lives, that we tend to be very creative with our solutions while still being nurturing, while still ensuring that our voices are heard, but not yelling and screaming, but rather how we can help develop and grow our teams beneath us. I'm always using Bloom where you're planted. When you bloom, you will be seen. Do your best. Keep focused. Keep encouraging each other. Don't look at persons as competition. Work on what you can do best and see how best you can put your foot forward. Because it's only with persistence and dedication and ensuring that we continue educating ourselves. And sometimes those education comes to speaking to persons who have gone down that journey. I do not believe in reinventing the wheel, but I can tell you, I believe in looking at how I can improve the function of that wheel and how we use it. And that is some of the messages that I give to my team members all the time. Look at it from a different perspective. And I've just shared a few of our moments at Massey Stores SVG, where we asked team members to be their authentic self and smile, have fun. It's Retail is a very hectic and dynamic industry. So when we get those moments, it's better for us to enjoy it. We spend a significant amount of time with us and feel empowered to come as yourself. Have a good time, put your best foot forward, and always represent who you are at your best. And I want to thank you for allowing me to have this brief discussion with you today. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Troy, for reminding us of the power of mindset and having a positive mindset to overcome any obstacle. I'm especially taking note of the other comment. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just see how you can improve it. All right? Really loving that. And it really speaks to, when you shared about your passion, that continuous improvement, always looking for opportunities for continuous improvement. So no wonder, that those are your words to us about not reinventing the wheel. So thanks again, Troy. So now we will have Karen Cornell, Miss Karen Cornell. So let me tell you a little bit about Karen. And Karen is another person I've had the opportunity to see her grow in her career as well, so I'm really excited to have her here today. So Karen is the Senior Manager, Pharmaceutical and Personal Care Division, Massey Distribution, Guyana Inc. She's a minister in training with the Elim Pentecostal Church Movement in Guyana. She's also a lecturer at the Life Christian University Extension campus in Guyana. Karen is the youngest of 6, born in a nuclear family out of an interracial union. Her father was a police officer and her mother a soldier. And Karen shares that her unique family dynamic provided an interesting childhood with structure, discipline, love, acceptance, and value for diversity. She has been employed with Massey Distribution for 15 years, 6 of which she held the position of manager of the Pharmaceutical and Personal Care Division. She was promoted in the last 2 years to senior manager of the division. Congratulations. Karen is most passionate about her faith in God and the people whom she believes God has called her to be a blessing to, whether it be professionally or in the ministry under which she was appointed to serve. Her faith is a driving force in her life and has helped her to evolve professionally. Karen also shares that her career at Massey has molded her and opened doors of leadership. She was exposed to life-changing sessions, providing the necessary tools to set her on a path of becoming an outstanding leader. Her interests span from teaching to enjoying nature. Looking at the ocean, she says, reminds her of how great God is, and being in the ocean provides a calm and a sense of relaxation that is unmatched. Karen, welcome, and like all our other panelists, thank you so much for agreeing to be here today and sharing with us your perspectives as relates to International Women's Day and your experiences in this journey. Karen?
Thank you so much. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you so much, Audra, for that wonderful introduction. I am so blessed and inspired by all of the presenters who have gone before me. I'm just really just basking in the things that I've heard, and I know that I will be able to encourage others. I'm gonna first start off by saying what International Women's Day means to me. And to be very transparent, I don't think I fully embraced what International Women's Day truly meant. So, International Women's Day sheds light on gender issues, including gender equality, issues relating to violence and abuse against women, but it also is a celebration of our achievements and our accomplishments. And that is where my challenge came. Because for some reason, I always had a challenge really embracing and acknowledging accomplishments when it came to me. I had the mindset that, it was not really humble to acknowledge my achievements. So that mindset allowed me not to really give a lot of emphasis to women and their accomplishments, because there were times I would just think, okay, it happened, it's wonderful, it's great, but it's not to really be recognized on a public forum. And I realized that there were some things I had to unlearn, that it was not prideful to acknowledge my accomplishments. And when I saw other women doing great things, I really wanted to say, hey, great job, kudos to you. And I realized that that wasn't something wrong to do. So after seeing International Women's Day and how it's recognized, it made me a little bit more comfortable to acknowledge my own accomplishments and to be able to be more free to acknowledge the accomplishments of others. It's a time of reflection, looking back on my personal journey and the women who have been influential. I believe that I've been put on a path where God strategically designed encounters for me. So He placed women at strategic parts of my life who were there to impart something. And they had qualities that I knew I needed to emulate. So it first started with my mom. And so my mom had some challenges because I mentioned that I am the youngest of six, but my sister, my eldest sister, she passed when she was 20 years old. And that was very difficult for my mom because she had five of us to take care of. And she also had two of her brother's kids because her brother had passed and she had her brother's kids living with us as well. So my cousins actually grew up as my siblings. And so my mom lost a daughter, but she still had so many children depending on her to be present. And in that time, I saw my mom depend on her faith in God, and really that really brought her through that difficult time. And I saw her showing up for us every day, even though it was challenging. And I saw her doing what was necessary to set a great example. So that kind of molded and structured my faith. And then I got into the professional environment and I realized that I was seeing women that I needed to emulate. And it's interesting, and I wasn't going to mention this because I didn't want to make Miss Audra, as I would normally call her, uncomfortable. But Audra, you were actually, I believe, a part of God's divine plan for me and who I would see at a certain time. So I remember I was young in the business, and Audra did a training for us. And when she walked in the room, she had this wonderful smile. And that's the first thing I noticed about her. But then I also noticed that there was a poise and a confidence and a boldness that she carried, but it wasn't arrogant at all. There was a sweetness and a warmth about her. And I remembered her personality and I thought, this would be goals for me. And I remembered her personality. And then there were other women along my path and my journey that I was able to take positive traits from them and say, this is what I aspire to be. And then there were times that I met women that I didn't really appreciate their approach. But still, even in disagreeing with the way they handle things, I was still able to give them grace to ask the question, well, why is it that this is the way that this woman perceives life or perceives people? So then I had tools, I had examples of what to be and what not to be. So International Women's Day causes me to reflect on that journey. And then it causes me now to be aware of the fact that I would have benefited from encountering strong, confident, wonderful women. And now I had a role to impart and to influence and to encourage, to mold and to nurture. Just like I received, no, I have to recognize that. And when I see younger women coming in, and sometimes they're a little unsure of themselves, they have questions that they need to ask, then I am now aware of, because of the fact that somebody did that for me, I have to do that for them. It's also a time of recognizing that adversity is an element in what makes a woman a phenomenal woman. That term adversity represents struggle and trials. And I look at all of the beautiful faces and I see all of the beautiful smiles, and there's so many women that are participating that I'm not able to see. But I'm sure if we had the time and I sat and I had a conversation with each and every one of you, I would recognize that you had a story. And a lot of times, our story is not perfect. Our story represents challenges and difficulties that we had to rise out of. And I feel like the adversity that we would have had to rise out of really makes us strong and allows us to be able to develop grit and tenacity so that others might be inspired. And International Women's Day also is a time of me remembering to give myself grace and to preach a message to women to give yourself grace and permission to rest. And I actually had a personal experience that really, um, Oprah would normally say she has an aha moment, and I had that moment where there was a particular Saturday that I rested for half of the day. So I didn't get out of bed early, and I just, I got up and I did some reading, and there was a time of reflection and there was prayer. And then I rested. And then my friend called me and she said, "Hey, so what are you doing?" And what I said to her, I said, I feel like I wasted the whole morning and I have so much to do. And she said, "Why did you waste the whole morning?" I said, "Because I didn't do anything." And she said, "So you feel that if you rest, you're wasting your morning?" And that thing really caused me to stop and think and reevaluate the priority that I'm placing on myself and rest and giving myself grace. So, International Women's Day reminds me to give myself grace and to rest. And it's okay to take time out for me, because if I can't take care of myself and I get ill, I won't be able to take care of anybody else. And we can move on. Now, breaking stereotypes. Celebrating International Women's Day to me is breaking a stereotype in its own. In the early 1900s, Clara Zetkin, a German activist, made a petition for women's issues to be highlighted, one day a year in every country. And the fact that we're doing it still after all this time says that we're making some progress, but I know that we still have a long way to go. But I see this as progress in making and breaking stereotypes, because there was a time that women's issues were not highlighted at all, and we didn't have a voice, and women couldn't even get access to education, and it wasn't necessary. It wasn't seen as necessary for women to know how to read. So, the fact that we're celebrating International Women's Day years after, to me, that is a step in breaking stereotypes. I also see women not settling for someone to empower us, but to take our power back is a step to breaking stereotypes. There are a lot of times that we're in environments that don't serve us, or we're in situations that are dangerous, and we keep waiting to be empowered. But when we take our power back, when we're in toxic situations and we say, "I am removing myself from this because this isn't healthy for me," I see that as breaking a stereotype, because a lot of women feel like we are supposed to be silent. We're not supposed to have a voice, and we're not supposed to make decisions. So when we take our power back, I see that as a step in breaking stereotypes. Not thinking it's audacious to speak up when we're uncomfortable in any situation, whether personal or professional. This is a step in breaking stereotypes. I've been in rooms where me having an opinion was offensive, because I had the audacity to say I disagreed. And I remember the way I felt when I realized it wasn't the fact that I was willing to speak, it was the fact that I was a female who was willing to speak. And that was something that really hurt my feelings because I was like, it was so clear to me that if this perspective had come from a man, it would have been heard. So when we are in positions to stand up and to speak and to be comfortable to air our views, that's breaking a stereotype. Teaching girls that women have the right to live in accordance with their purpose is breaking a stereotype. And if you notice, I have photos of my mother and I have photos of my team. And the reason that I included my mom is because I feel like she broke a lot of stereotypes. So she was in the military and she was female, and that was a male dominated industry. And she told me of all the stories where, persons made comments about her gender and saying that she couldn't handle certain things and she always felt like she had to prove herself. So her being in that profession broke a stereotype. Then she made a decision to love who she wanted to love because at that time, marriages were often arranged and she chose to love differently. And she had me and she had all of my siblings. So I feel like when we teach girls that their life doesn't have to look like what people assume that their life should look like, their life can look like if it's necessary and if they feel that their purpose is to be career oriented, then that's wonderful. If they feel like their purpose is to stay home and take care of their children, then that's wonderful. Whatever a woman feels her purpose is, that is breaking a stereotype when we teach the message to young girls that your life can look like whatever you feel your purpose is. It doesn't have to look like what somebody assumes your life should look like. And I felt like my mom was a perfect example of that because she lived what she believed her purpose was. And we can move on. Inspiring inclusion and accelerating progress. We will inspire inclusion and accelerate progress when we have a workforce where leadership is deliberate about educating and offering equal opportunities to women, when we recognize gender disparities and are bold enough to address it. It's not just enough to recognize that there are gender disparities, but how do we address it? When leadership addresses the fact that there are gender disparities and we work tirelessly to fix it so that everybody can be included, then I think that we will inspire inclusion and people will be able to progress. But I also think that women have a role, women who have been empowered, who have found their voice, who stand and walk boldly and confidently in their power and in their voice. We have a mandate to support women who are finding their voice so that everybody can be included and so that every woman can know that she has the right to accelerate and the right to progress. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And as I said, the women that have gone before me, I have been so blessed by your presentations. And Miss Audra, of course, you know that you've always been a blessing to me. And I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to speak at a forum where you can get to see me speak. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for your recognition of our female panelists and their sharing of what they've done. And thank you for your recognition and appreciation. As I said, when I was introducing you, I'm really proud to see your growth, and it is also an honor for me to have you on this panel along with my other fellow panelists. So thank you for that. So, I mean, I'm sure as the audience is listening, they see why we chose this panel, right? And why we say we massively are proud of having such amazing women in the organization, each sharing their story, each sharing their journey, each sharing their learnings, and really with the hope of encouraging and inspiring those of you who are listening who may be struggling, as you've heard from the voice and the experiences of all our ladies here. So, one thing I want to say is that as I listened to all of you, there were some consistent messages, You spoke about the fact that persons have paved the way for us, right? For each of us, for all of us, for you, and the importance of acknowledging them. We recognize it's been a journey of learning and growth, and that even in the challenges, there were growth opportunities, and so that as women, even as the challenges come, maybe it's how we're wired and how we're made, we take a step back, but then we push through and we go forward, and we certainly heard that in all your stories. You also mentioned about being thankful for what we have achieved and stand in it, and that's also another powerful thing, because yes, as women, we get our heads down and we do what we do, but we don't, toot our horns, or we don't maybe stand and acknowledge that because we're so busy going on to the next nurturing thing or the next assignment that we are called to do. And I think that's really, really powerful, that it's not prideful, but sometimes it's so necessary to encourage others that we could look back and recognize what we have achieved. I also got from you all the responsibility for grooming and growing others, right? So we make it a little bit easier, make the path a little bit easier for those who are coming, those who are following, just as somebody or many people would have done for us. And I know we can all attest to that they're powerful women, colleagues, senior persons, mentors, who would have groomed and guided us and provided advice that helped shape us. So lots of powerful and great sharings. I mean, I'm sitting down here inspired and in awe of you ladies, So what we're going to do now is that we're going to move across to our Q&A. And to you, our audience, we really want to encourage you. You've heard from our panelists. Please post your questions, post your comments. They are here. We won't always be able to get them all together like this again, so please capitalize on this, So I'm going to start off with my first question towards Sonia. So Sonia, you operate in what would typically be considered a male-dominated industry. Can you share with us, what attracted you to having a career in this field? And then maybe a little bit about what may have been some of the challenges. So the first one, what attracted you to this field? And then any challenges along the way, and of course successes, because we don't want to just stay with the challenges.
Okay, so entering this field initially sparked by my sister-in-law, who served as a mentor inspiration and carried her memory with pride, knowing she placed it with the achievement I've made. As immersing myself in this field, I found to be more just a career path. I became a personal journey. The automotive sector isn't just about cars and technology. It's about passionate individuals who devote themselves to their profession. I quickly fell in love with my job and dedication of the people here. It's more than a job, it's more than just a job. It's a second home where each day presents new challenge that push us to strive for excellence and become better version of ourselves. A significant challenge in my career when I became the first woman in Renault Sofasa to hold the position of after sales manager. It was a role traditional by men. It was a nice experience for me. And additionally, when Massive Motors acquired the operation in Colombia, I was surprised by the limited participation of women in executive positions between the company. Today, I consider a significant achievement to lead a country operation and participate in meetings alongside male counterparts when I can confidently voice my opinions.
Thank you, Sonia. And I loved, I heard you say it's more than, in terms of your choice for this career, you saw it as, you see the sector as not just about cars and technology, but really passionate individuals, as you said, devoting themselves to their profession. And then you had the privilege as well of seeing that when you first joined, there weren't many females in senior executive positions, but over the years that has changed, and certainly having you at the helm and being promoted to this position as well speaks volumes to that. Again, so congratulations on your role in that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let me ask Dion. So Dion, in the field of HR, all right, so we all know, and my background also being HR, know that historically HR was seen as personnel administration and that role that sees about the employees' files and maybe their pay, Can you share a little about your journey to gaining a seat, in the C-suite, as part of that senior executive, as an HR professional?
Um, Realistically, for me, I I have to fully admit that even though I became a director, I think it was 2015, so a good few years back, and as we are known now as assistant vice presidents and so on, I I I can't speak to a struggle really. What I can speak to, Audra, as you pointed out earlier, is keeping your head down and pushing on and working hard and not taking every moment that you can with your inside voice and saying, be brave, step out and do. Don't worry about the criticism. Don't worry about the stereotypes, those types of things. Just push on. I had so much exposure, and it still happens today, and it's one of my pet peeves, where when you speak about women in the workforce, it is often said by both men and women, oh, if you got to work with a group of women, they are going to be so miserable and it's so difficult to do. I still firmly believe, and this has been my experience my entire work life, that that is not a reality. And I think it is not a reality because as you think, you do. And if we aren't changing our mindset around what it is like to work with women, we will continue to get that. And so a lot of the responsibility stands at us as women when we believe the rhetoric and we portray and reinforce our rhetoric. I don't think the C-suite exists as it did many years ago either. It was a group of stiff old men, usually white men, who ran organizations. I think, yes, there are barriers to getting there, but for this Caribbean basin, you can't just dismiss the role of women in business. So that's the place I stand. It may be a different approach to it, but my journey to this place took a lot of courage. It took a lot of conversations in my head. To this day, there are times when I am sitting with senior leaders and I hear something that I disagree with, that I tell myself, Dion, be brave. Dion, be brave. Open your mouth and say it regardless. And I think more than anything else, when people speak about reaching this spot, I have only felt as though I arrived the day that I spoke my truths. And my truths were accepted. And when I spoke my truths and they were accepted, that was the moment I felt validated in my role. I speak to that again so that as women, we do not hide under a bushel. I speak to it because as women, we stand firm in who we believe we are and not to be thrown by it.
Thanks, Dee. Thank you so very much. And as you were sharing there, I want to bring Karen in because what I heard and what you were saying there, the importance of your voice and speaking. And when Karen was sharing, she spoke about her experience being in a room and when she first voiced her opinion and that response. So my question then, Karen, is just kind of continuing on what Dion just raised there and what you raised as well, is what advice would you give other young women in terms of It's having that courage to get your voice in the space. Oh, you're muted?
Sorry.
No problem.
For
Thanks.
me, it was a process because when that happened, when I had an experience where I felt like I was almost being muted, it
Mm-hmm.
started to affect my personality. So there would be many times I would be in rooms where I could offer my perspective or my opinion, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be silent. And
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned in my bio that I've been grateful to Massey and even the leadership that I have now. I want to mention that the leadership that I have now really encourages me. And going through the process of stepping out now, because
Mm-hmm.
after that happened and it was happening for a while, I kind of went into a shell. And I had a coach that was assigned to me, and I would give his name, Mr. Earl Buddha Singh. And
Mm-hmm.
he worked with me, and I was able to recognize that regardless of how I was made to feel, that my voice mattered, my
Mm-hmm.
opinion mattered, and now I had the tools to be able to stand firm and bold and confident in my statements and say, okay, this is what I believe, this is my
Mm-hmm.
perspective, this is my opinion. So I had that experience, and then I have leadership now that is very encouraging. And I have experiences where I'm put in rooms to have conversations and to speak. And sometimes I want to get a little shy and I say, no, no. And I tell my boss, I say, no, maybe you can take this. And he says, no, you can handle this. You can do this. And he leaves. And he leaves me. And I have to do it. So I would encourage young women, first off, that if you're experiencing a situation where you're being muted, be very sensitive to the fact that if you start to internalize that, it is going to silence your voice, and your voice is very important. And sometimes we need somebody to say to us, no, your opinion matters. What you think matters. What you feel matters, and you have a right to speak. So just remember to be bold and to be confident, and do not internalize negativity, but stand firm using your voice, because your voice can be a blessing to many.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And so when Dion spoke, she spoke about the importance of being listened to as well. And but then if you're not being listened to, what also helps as well is the others encouraging you. And then there's that self-talk, as women we go through the self-talk, so we tell ourselves, oh, maybe no, maybe we're not confident enough, or maybe we won't get it right. So really it's a series of strategies, having mentors, having coaches, having people to encourage us, being bold and stepping into this space, even if we want to back out, as well as sometimes we do, right? Because we doubt ourselves, or no, of course, not the global term, sometimes we go through imposter syndrome, right? So we think maybe, we don't qualify to do this, or maybe we shouldn't do this, or we're not up to it, So thank you for what you all shared. So Troy, I want to get back to you in terms of so as you shared, Troy is a name, and I know many people, and I'm sure when first time they meet Troy, they think it's a guy, right? I mean, because Troy is not a unisex name. You
It's
shared,
not a unisex.
it's not a unisex name, and then you shared your university experience of being told, you're in the wrong room, and having to push through those things. So my question to you is that have you found yourself still having to navigate some of these things, particularly as you've moved up in your career, you're now in a more senior role, and what are some of these strategies you found yourself employing, to step away from these stereotypes or these preconceived notions that people may expect? It's a senior meeting or executive meeting, and they hear Troy, and they say, okay, there's going to be a gentleman stepping in here, but yet they see a lovely woman coming in. Share with us, what are some things you've found yourself having to navigate as you've continued?
Regrettably, I have to say that I still am faced with those challenges. It's almost a daily challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in coming into the role into St. Vincent, it's definitely a more male dominant society when it comes to the senior executives in the various companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had some executives who tried to meet and just would not want to have the meeting.
Mm.
Um, you don't get discouraged by those things
Mm-hmm.
at all. You find different strategies. And there was one who refused to speak with me, and a year later, again, I made a request to speak. And by the time I left that meeting, we left on very good terms. He
Wow.
could see that I was a professional. I took nothing to heart in terms of the first denial, second denial. It didn't matter to me. What mattered was it was important for me to make contact because it would benefit my organization
Mm-hmm.
and the company that I lead. I also took a team with me to meet with him because I wanted to also empower them. For me, I know role is important. I see it in the form of as I grow in the organization, I have more and more persons that I need to now ensure are continuing to grow as well, are continuing to improve their livelihood as well, and that I can see blooming. I love flowers, and that's why I use the blooming terminology a lot. You get attracted to it. So I love to see people, as you nurture them and you guide them and you help them along their way, take their own stance and now can represent. Because at the end of the day, I would love to be able to leave the company with several options of persons who can fill my shoes and do much better than I have done before. We still have the stereotyping, and my strategy is to empower my fellow women so to grow in their own skill sets, be their authentic self, find ways of continuing to push through, and don't let those barriers or challenges block you from where you need to go. There's always ways around it. Always keep positive, and you will persevere. Collaborate if you need.
Right. Thank you so much, Troy. And a point that you just shared is leading me to ask you all the panel a question. So I was recently in a conversation, a discussion that was actually speaking about, men versus women in an organization. And the discussion was around the belief that some women have that they think they need to assume a male persona. So whether, that fine line between being assertive and being aggressive or taking on a male, as I say, a male persona in the workplace in order to progress and to be successful. I want to find out from each of you, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that for women to be successful, they need to take on this male persona? And I'm kind of just leading off a Troy's point just now about, the importance of being our own authentic self.
Audra, may I go first if
You,
you don't mind?
oh, definitely, sure.
Um, I believe there are different aspects of a leadership role where
Mm-hmm.
you have to have different leadership styles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's important is that we recognize when we do need to be assertive, when we do need to be nurturing, when we do need to play a teacher role, when we do need to play an authoritative role. The question is, how do we continue with our leadership? What do we want to be known in terms of our legacy? I would prefer a legacy where, like I said, bring my authentic self to the mix. I've had to work in challenging departments to be able to turn them around and do it successfully. But what I would like to see left behind is a team that has developed, grown, know their strength, know their worth, and whether it be male or female, it's important that both get nurtured and we recognize that there are strengths in each one of us and also in the different styles. And depending on the challenges that we face, certain styles will be required more than others.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Troy. Love that. So already being up.
Audra,
Yes, yes, Dion, you go
I
ahead.
can speak into it.
Sure.
I I I have had conversations with people who went through aggressive interview processes with a couple of the most well-known businesses in the world. And part of the selection process, this is something that stood out for me and really made an imprint in my brain. part of that selection process after the candidate was selected, despite attending top universities in the world, the ask of the candidate as they started their journey in that business was to be themselves. You spoke about imposter syndrome. And again, the arguments are, is it real? Is it not real? What I will say to you is, I think it is more important for us as women to understand without a doubt you are enough. And if you don't feel as though you're enough in the space that you are, then you are in the wrong space, as opposed to, let me see how I need to sharpen a saw to fit into this particular space. We struggle with accepting, and I put my hand up, struggle with accepting your worth. There are many times when people tell me how they see me versus how I see myself, and I'm like, ooh, is that me? It is embracing who you are, and that is what makes a difference.
You so very much, Dion. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is certainly supports and aligns with what Troy was saying as well. You know, embracing who you are, being your authentic self. I have a question that has come in. So I'm going to open this up and any one of the panelists can answer. How best do you acknowledge and navigate the inherent trade-offs that come with professional success? Example, family time. So I don't know which one of our panelists would like to speak about that. Navigating those trade-offs. Sure.
Is Sonia speaking? If Sonia is speaking, that's fine.
Yeah, Sonia, would you like to share?
Yes, I would like to share, yes. It is not easy for successful women, you know, because we have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of work, a lot of challenge.
Yes.
But it's a challenge to be a successful woman and also to be a successful mom and wife. I think it's a double job, but at the end, our family is proud of us, and that thing empower to be the best. In my case,
Right.
in my case,
Great.
my inspiration to be the best are my daughters, my family. So this is one of the keys to be when I am.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Appreciated. And I think, Dion, you wanted to add something as well to that question?
Well, just to add to what Sonia said, but
Mm-hmm.
so my son is 23. I have a stepdaughter who's 30, and so I feel like if I can look back again to see how the benefits of, or how you balance it. I was fortunate. I was fortunate because, again, I had support.
Mm-hmm.
Mothers who went to doctor's appointments and called while she was at the doctor so that I could speak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that for the women today. I think a lot of it I probably put on myself too, but I don't think that we should be in environments where you have to sacrifice one over the other.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen. Men don't sacrifice one over the other. They do what they have to. And I hope that as we progress, we don't ask women to sacrifice one over the other.
Right. Thank you, Dion. Karen, I think is it that you wanted to add something?
No, I'm actually like a sponge right now, so my role is to take this in because I don't have children yet.
Excellent. So you're taking in the wise words of both
I'm
Sonia,
taking it in. I am learning.
Sonia
It's
and
called to be a
Dion.
presenter, but I'm learning.
Nothing wrong. We're all learning any process, so nothing is wrong with that.
Totally.
So thank you, ladies. And we have a comment here from Alvira. What Troy said about adapting your leadership style accordingly is profound. Not many leaders do that, and it takes some amount of rationality and objectivity. So this is going back to what we were discussing earlier on about the roles. So thank you for that comment. All right, so we have just about 3 more minutes. Time is going so quickly. Let me see if there are any other questions. Okay, no other new questions. So panelists, just your closing words. You know, if in one minute, any closing words that you would like to tell our audience as we leave. Any parting words? Who'd like to go first? Troy, would you like to go first? Closing words.
Closing words.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to leave with the persons who are listening in to us today and those who may listen after that be open, be positive, rely on others to give you genuine help. Ask when you need the help, which usually very challenging with persons, but always try to do your best, put your best foot forward. And as with everything, life is not just a smooth road. It's not just going to be smooth uphill. There are going to be dips and corners and curves. Just remember that whatever hard road you're on, it's going to come to an end. You're going to enjoy the plateaus, but also try to enjoy the journey as you continue to climb. I wish each and everybody that they could reach the dreams that they want to, and continue to support the ladies who are trying to smooth the way for each and every one of you, as well as you try to do the same in return. Let's change those numbers around. The power is in our hands to do so.
Thank you. Very well said. I'm going to call Sonia. Sonia, your closing words?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I would like to give the next message. Just always be a good person, be confident, and all the women are capable to do anything you want. I'm I really thank you with Masi because I had the opportunity to lead a complete country, and this is a good example that women are capable of anything. So I want to empower all the women to try to be in a good positions because we are the difference. We are the complement in the teams and in the organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia. Dion, your closing words?
My closing words would be
Mm-hmm.
set values for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
live those values. I remind myself often that the path that I walk, I choose love, I will walk worthy, and I will live a life bigger than myself. Having done that, I remind myself and I invite people to explore it, to forget not who you are in the moment of your exposure by that which you are not. I reiterate the point that I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I want that to be known. I didn't get here on my own. I got here because of the incredible support from my community, my female community. And I don't want to exclude the men, but there's some there as well. And look over your shoulder, look over your shoulder and make sure that the path that you've left is one that makes it easier for others.
Thank you, Dion. And Karen, your closing words, Steph.
Right. So I would just like to say, pay it forward. Whatever you have gathered in your journey from women who have encouraged you, be vigilant. Look out for the woman who might be struggling to find her voice. And if you have found yours, stand with her, support her, encourage, nurture, uplift, and just try to be a blessing as much as you can to others.
Thank you so very much. So, ladies and gents, we've come to the end of an exciting session. I thoroughly enjoyed our discussion. I've learned, I was here taking my notes. So I hope, and we hope, the panelists, the MLI team, all of us hope that the sharings today have caused you to reflect on your own journey, your triumphs and challenges, and you've been encouraged to continue to push through. Our panelists have said it over and over again. It is a collective journey for all of us, and if we each do our part, we can change not only our part of the world, but we can actually impact the whole world. I would like to thank our amazing panelists, whom I've had the privilege of knowing each of you for many years. You know, your insights, your sharings today were powerful, and I certainly feel inspired by each and every one of you. Thank you, our audience, our tech team and MLI team. I want to wish each and every one of you a wonderful rest of week and weekend, and for those of us who celebrate Easter, happy Easter. And as we've come to the end, we want to remind you to keep leveling up. Until our next session, see you soon. Take care. God bless.